So one of my clients' deliverability score metrics went from fair, which is sort of near the bottom, up to excellent, which is the best bracket that Klaviyo has as far as measuring deliverability. And so I'm going to share with you some of the things I've done inside their account over the last 6 months. And I thought this list might be helpful for yourself in troubleshooting your own account. If maybe you think there's something wrong or you want to go and check on these specific things just to see that everything is performing the way it should. And it will help you get off to a good start for this year, knowing that you're doing the best you can to make sure that email marketing plays as large a percentage of your revenue as it possibly can for this year, which I'm sure some of these things will see some improvements in your own account on last year. Hey, welcome to Aussie Online Growing on Shopify. This is episode 155 and it's all about planning for 2026. This episode will be about your Klaviyo deliverability score, which may or may not sound exciting depending if you like Klaviyo and email marketing or checking on these metrics. But I really want to break down for you a bit of a case study of one of my clients' accounts over several months where their deliverability score has improved based on some of the measures I have taken over about the last 6 months inside their account. So if you find that maybe your Klaviyo account isn't performing as well as you'd hoped or you would like, or maybe you are on the fence about getting Klaviyo and have thought about doing it and not sure, let me share with you some of the things that I think are important in getting ready for 2026, in planning out your email marketing strategy for this year with your e-commerce store and making sure Klaviyo really does support your sales and brings you in sales consistently, sort of in the background for, 80% of the work that Klaviyo can do can sit there and just tick along in the background. So one of my clients' deliverability score metrics went from fair, which is sort of near the bottom, up to excellent, which is the best bracket that Klaviyo has as far as measuring deliverability. And so I'm going to share with you some of the things I've done inside their account over the last 6 months. And I thought this list might be helpful for yourself in troubleshooting your own account. If maybe you think there's something wrong or you want to go and check on these specific things just to see that everything is performing the way it should. And it will help you get off to a good start for this year, knowing that you're doing the best you can to make sure that email marketing plays as large a percentage of your revenue as it possibly can for this year, which I'm sure some of these things will see some improvements in your own account on last year. These are sensible things to do. They're not too complicated and they'll just set you up for much better success for revenue through Klaviyo this year, which, like I said, a lot of it happens in the background too. So it's well worth your time. I'm coming to you from a different location today. I'm on holidays in the Barossa Valley, so I'm going to be batch recording several episodes and then spending the next little while editing them. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everybody. And I haven't seen you all at all in a month. It's been since I've recorded an episode, so I've got stacks of things to share already that I've been thinking about in the last month. If you have an idea for a podcast episode, please send it to me. I love to have ideas of what you guys would like me to share in a podcast episode. Otherwise, I have plenty of things in draft ready to go and get written and finalized and recorded and edited for you. So this episode 155, my first one of 2026, is your Klaviyo deliverability score. I think I have, let me check my list. I'm going to follow my notes here. I think I have 8 things. Let me just check. Yeah. 8 points to share with you. And one of them, I'm sure you can just take easily and just check in your own account. If you're on the fence, like I said, about Klaviyo, or maybe you use MailChimp or even OmniSend, there's so many different options out there for email marketing. Just know that it can be a significant contributor to your revenue. Klaviyo, my Klaviyo revenue for my own Shopify store had gone up 80% in 2025. I was going to say 2024, in 2025 based off of 2024. So in the last 12 months, it's gone up 80%, the revenue from Klaviyo inside my own account. So it's like, don't sleep on email marketing. I know people talk about email marketing like it's dead, like why bother with email marketing? And yeah, it's harder than it used to be. Even the percentage of revenue that Klaviyo makes up of my total revenue is a little bit down on what it was the year prior. I think it is definitely getting harder to convert people via email than what it was a year or 2 or 5 years ago. I'm not disputing that. But don't be too black and white about it. There's so many shades of grey in it. Don't just throw the whole idea out or the whole concept because email marketing isn't what it used to be 10 years ago. Like, nothing's what it used to be 10 years ago, but we still do it because that's how we build a business. So if you would like to see a 30% increase on your own Shopify store's revenue, with much of it happening through flows that obviously happen automatically, and then a weekly campaign you can easily build and send, or I can build and send, please consider incorporating email marketing into your whole plan for your e-commerce store in 2026. 100%, especially underlined in bold, in red, if you are going to run ads. The combination of email marketing and ads is crucial. If you're going to run ads on Meta, then you really should have email marketing off the back of it. It's going to offset the cost of your ads, number one, if you're wondering why. But you will also make the most of all that traffic that's coming to your website from those ads. I'm going to share a little stat with you later in this episode about a client who I onboarded just this week, who I'm now supporting, and what they've shared with me in the first 7 days of their ads running, and how it's already having a massive impact on their own Klaviyo account and their own revenue as well. So let me get to my list. A rambly intro after I haven't done an episode in so long. Number one, this is one thing I did to increase a client's deliverability score inside Klaviyo from fair to excellent over, like I said, several months. This was like a not just a single project. This was over a long period of time. The first one I did was suppress all the emails that never purchased. This is something you should probably do. Well, no, it depends how often you collect emails. Depends how fast your list is growing, where you're getting leads from. If you're just mostly organic traffic and people just finding you and signing up, your list is probably small but really clean. Whereas if you run ads or you do giveaways, you're actively looking to grow your list, you're going to need to clean it more regularly because you're collecting more junky emails. That's what the payoff is. You get good emails, but you also get junky ones as well. So I suppressed the emails in this account who had never even purchased. They might have been there for a short period of time or a long period of time. Obviously, you don't want to suppress somebody who just joined your email list, maybe in the last 30 days and hasn't yet shopped or purchased, because they probably will, or they may well do. We want to give them the opportunity to do so. I also did this in my own account. After doing it in this client's account, I went back to my own Klaviyo account and did the same thing. And I was surprised how many emails I had to suppress, because I hadn't done it in probably 12 months. It had been quite a while. It always hurts a bit when you go and suppress a bulk lot of emails, because you've often paid for those leads or those leads some way with your time and your energy, or your organic posting or your ads. You've often paid for those leads in some way or another. So it did hurt a bit when I went and suppressed a heap of emails in my own account. It's not an easy thing to do, but necessary, and it will increase the health of your account overall, which will improve your deliverability score. And for those of you that don't know, just as a bit of a backstory or a bit of a history lesson on deliverability scores, at the start of 2024, Google, potentially others, I feel like it was a Google thing, but I could be wrong. There's probably other sort of service providers and things that came on board and implemented it. Anyway, Google changes with email sending requirements. If you're a bulk sender, which we are, if we send emails to our customers, we are a bulk sender. We're not just sending an email to a friend in the office, and we're sending emails en masse. There was different requirements for bulk senders, and it meant that you needed to be far more conscious of the segment of who you're sending your emails to, how often, the content inside. I guess we just need to do a far better job of reaching out to our potential customers and customers than we used to be able to get away with doing before deliverability scores came into being. Because your deliverability score then determines, this is why it's so important, it really is the North Star inside your account. If you're going to go look at any metric, go check what your deliverability score is today and see where it sits and try and take some steps to actively improve it. It will mean more of your emails end up in inboxes rather than spam folders. So that's it. That's kind of the carrot and the stick as far as why this work is important. If you have a good deliverability score, your emails are more likely landing in inboxes, which means people are seeing them and have the opportunity to respond to them. But if your score is low, and there's many different levels Klaviyo has, or it's dropping, then your emails are starting to land in more spam and promotions folders, which is terrible. That's like hard to claw back if you let that go too long. If you end up with a deliverability score that's completely tanked, it's a long road back, and getting rid of a lot of your email addresses and suppressing a lot will be a good start to getting it back onto the road to some health. It sort of speaks to the health of your domain. It's based on your domain. So when you see a deliverability score as good or fair or excellent or poor, it speaks to the health of your domain for your store. And that's important for lots of things. So you want to be in inboxes. If you're going to take the time to email customers and leads, and when you have a sale on, you want people to hear about it. When you have a new product, you want people to hear about it. You don't want your emails going to junk folders. Then this is why taking measures to improve your score are really important. And what better time to do it, than the start of a new year, when we're getting plans and things organized for like what you might be doing with your email marketing this year. And it really is an indication of the whole health of your account. So that's the first thing I did. Number two, what I did was I created a super engaged segment instead of a regular engaged segment, Klaviyo's default segment. I created a super engaged segment for this client's account. So we were targeting a very small group of users with a weekly email. So instead of targeting a segment of engaged users as what Klaviyo would define it as, when you set up a segment, you can just use their predefined template. I set up a much tighter and smaller group of users that we would contact weekly with a weekly newsletter type email, so that we were only reaching out to the best leads, the best emails they had inside their Klaviyo account. Again, all because that will start to improve your deliverability score, because the best users, the warmest users, the most engaged users are far more likely to open an email or click on an email or go to your website. And all of those things are indicators to the tech guru monsters out there that your email is worthwhile and good, and that your emails should be landing in inboxes and not in spam or promotions folders. Number three I did was I used an unengaged segment, but really very rarely in my own Klaviyo account, I send to an unengaged segment. Sometimes weekly. My deliverability score can handle a weekly email to an unengaged segment, which is someone who hasn't interacted at all with you in a determined period of time, depending on what you build that segment as. I like to use an unengaged segment as a follow-up from my weekly email to capture those people that didn't engage with the first email. This is a sort of segment you should really use sparingly, though, because if you use it too often, because it will have lots of people in it, it'll have a huge percentage of your account in it, because lots of people haven't engaged with an email in a few days inside your account. Then you only want to be using it pretty sporadically. So I used this segment every, I think, 8 weeks with this client. So literally every 2 months. We really hardly reached out to these people at all, just so that all the engaged and the super engaged emails we were sending had the chance to start improving the health of their account before we then tried to, I guess, re-engage or contact and touch base with those users who haven't engaged at all with this brand in a long period of time. The next thing we did, number four, the next thing I did was tried to improve or implemented a few different ways to improve like some of their bottom performing metrics or their worst performing metrics. Some of the things like unsubscribes or being marked as spam were a couple of the metrics that were bright red, like they were in the poor category, so they needed some attention. So to improve the metric of their unsubscribe rates and people marking them as spam, I started doing a bit of an alternating email strategy between storytelling and sales. And when I say sales, I don't mean things on sale. I mean pushing a product or featuring a collection, and then alternating those emails with a more storytelling or community building type email, so that there was 2 different types of emails and we sort of flipped between the 2. It gave their account more variety as well, which is more interesting for people to see in their inbox. They don't just keep seeing a sale email. They don't just keep seeing a promotions email. But also it meant that we were able to, by having a more variety or varied type of content, because it spoke to different users or different prospective leads in their account, then there was more opportunity for people to choose what content they liked and engage with that. You could go far deeper with this. I mean, this point for this could be you could subcontract this work out to somebody to literally do this sort of project work in your account and start doing segments, personalized segments, all about storytelling, products, different products that they bought. One product, they get a certain email and they go into a different flow. It can be really, really complex, which is why Klaviyo is so powerful. But for this example and for this case study, this specific client, we just started alternating between a sales email or a product sort of featuring email and then more of a storytelling type email. The other thing as well is a good idea to test the cadence then of how often you send an email. Weekly, ideally, but in this case, we also tried it every 14 days rather than every 7 days. Again, so that people are less likely to mark it as spam if they're not seeing an email every few days. It's really, this is just comes down to trying and testing, which is why checking on these metrics is so important, because for every niche, this is going to be different. If you already send an email every 5 days, don't suddenly change it to 15 days because of this point or because of what I'm doing here, because your industry or your niche, your customers may love to get an email from you a few times a week. It depends totally on the health of your account. So this is only something I would suggest if your deliverability score is really low and you need to do some work on it, is then look at maybe sending an email every 2 weeks or even every month, which is just so far like such a long period of time between. But if you're really trying to claw back your account, if it started to, the metrics are dropping badly and it's really not performing well, then you've got to do something. So you either shut the account down, but you want to get the health of your domain back. So this work is important. I would definitely do once a month if you really are in a bit of dire straits and feel like you're not really sure where to go next and things are pretty bad. So we did every 14 days, I think, instead of every week. But ordinarily, I would always recommend at least an email every week. What's the very next step in your marketing journey in growing your e-commerce store and finding new customers and converting them profitably? I encourage you to reach out to me for some one-on-one support. If you found your ads haven't worked in the past, top reasons I have seen with my own clients in why their ads stop working is a lack of creative diversity in the account, of exclusions and proper targeting, really helping Meta push to prospective users. And then ads that start to fatigue and circle the drain, that's when you find your costs start to skyrocket and you wonder what is going wrong in your account. When you run ads, your email marketing does better. When you do email marketing, it supports the money you are spending in advertising on Meta by ensuring that customers come back again and again, offsetting the cost you paid to Meta to get that customer for the first time. So there's no like crazy long retainer you have to sign up with me for. We can just work together for 1 month, and then you can decide if you want to continue working further or take back the reins and continue to DIY your marketing solution. And why reach out to me for support? Well, for my own e-commerce store, yes, I'm still running my own e-commerce store. And in 2025, my revenue is up 100%. I've doubled my revenue so far based off of 2024. The email marketing revenue I've had this year so far is 80% higher than it was for 2024. So I'm in a perfect position to support you in growing in your next steps. And let's really build out a robust, healthy campaign strategy that's going to see you succeeding long term. I encourage you to reach out to me. You can book a discovery call straight in my calendar. We can chat for 20 minutes about your business and the immediate next step you need to succeed in Meta Ads or in your email marketing. You can find me at Aussie Online Growing on Shopify.com.au. You can reach out to me just by booking a discovery call straight in my calendar. Let's chat for 20 minutes on Zoom and see how I can support you in winning to find new customers to grow your e-commerce store here in Australia next. Back to the episode. Number 5 is to make sure the value is above the fold. I always do this. I always have the value above the fold. You want to check the previews in Klaviyo for desktop, but mostly for mobile. Always the preview for mobile is the most important, and check that your headline is above the fold or an image is above the fold or a video or a product, something eye-catching, either really value-driven above the fold, so people know that what they're getting, what they can expect to see in the email, or curiosity-driven above the fold, so that above the fold isn't just a paragraph of text that's easy to delete that email and not read it. You want it short and sharp and shiny before they have to scroll down to see more. That's my favorite thing about emails, is what to put at the top, because then when I send variations of emails to different segments, like I spoke before about the unengaged segment. So your weekly email goes to an engaged segment, or super engaged in this case of this case study, and then an unengaged segment, which for this example, I only used every 2 months. Then that unengaged segment who gets the follow-up email, then I would swap out what appears above the fold, just so if they've got a mobile preview for their emails, or like a little window pane with their previews of what's in the email, they can easily see something different above the fold versus what the first email showed, so that it tries to capture their attention in a different way. They become unengaged because they didn't engage with the first email. So if you're going to send an unengaged sort of follow-up type email off of your weekly one, I really do suggest swapping out the content at the top, because the point is the first one didn't capture their attention to begin with, or they just didn't see it. Of course, like, how many emails did we get a day, and we just delete them? So there's lots of reasons why, but change the subject line, and if you can, swap out what's above the fold as well, to try and capture the attention of users in a different way, or a different set of users, so that those unengaged users will then become engaged. That makes sense? Or it'll graduate up to the next group of, or the next bucket of segments inside Klaviyo, which is what we want to be doing. Number 6, check your bottom metrics. When I talked just before about unsubscribes and spam complaints, but check where they're coming from. You can actually look a bit deeper at those metrics in Klaviyo and see if they're actually coming from flows or campaigns, because you may find that you get yourself all twisted up in knots thinking that unsubscribes are coming from a campaign, and you start changing up everything you do about your weekly emails. You don't send as many, you send to a smaller group, you change what's in the email. You spend lots of time and you twist yourself in knots trying to overhaul what you do on a week by week basis. But if you actually look at where unsubscribes are coming from, they might be coming from flows, in which case don't change anything about your weekly campaigns, and your flows need some work. I found this with one of my flows when I looked at my unsubscribe rate that had creeped up, and I wondered why. And I looked further into it, and it was from a flow. I can't remember what flow it was now. But I remembered thinking, what if I had gone and changed everything about the weekly email campaigns I send, thinking that that was the issue? Because you just look at the headline stat of unsubscribes or spam complaints and want to do something about it, but it might be the issue. It might be the issue in a flow and not in your standalone campaigns, which was the case with this client as well. The issue was inside a flow and not inside their usual campaigns that we send on a week by week basis. So important to check is to find out where your bottom metrics really are coming from. Similarly, I can't say that word, similarly is bounce rates. If you look at your bounce rate, you can also click into that and see if it's a soft bounce or a hard bounce. And some of those you don't need to worry about. If it's a soft bounce, it's not really something to be too concerned about. But if you find a lot of your emails are hard bouncing, then that's something you need to start looking at. You maybe could do a segment and pull the emails that are, I know there's different definitions of, emails that are not incomplete, but invalid, or there's different sort of ways you can pull segments of and just suppress those sort of junky bot type whatever emails that are causing you the dramas. Oh, you can pull a segment as well. That's what I'm remembering now as I'm saying it. You can pull a segment of emails that have bounced a certain number of times in a certain period of time. So you might want to pull a segment for yourself of emails that have bounced 3 times in the last 3 months maybe, or 3 times in the last month, depending how often you send emails, and then just get rid of the ones that are causing you the problem. Just pull them out and get rid of them. It's so interesting to me. I'm like, I'll take a break from my list now. I'm like going through this less like a maniac. It's so interesting to me when I look into doing emails for clients, for myself and for the clients I support with their Klaviyo account, is then I start to analyze the emails I get from other small businesses as well, and you potentially do as well. And I think I've shared this story before, is that I finally marked a sender as spam and sent them to the junk folder only a few months ago, maybe several months ago. But I've been receiving emails from this business for about 3 years now, constantly, and I've never bought a thing from them once in 3 years. And I may have been on their website, I guess, once 3 years ago when I first signed up to their email. But since then, I've never opened an email and I've never clicked on an email. and I've never bought anything from them, but I've received an email from them every week for several years. And so I kept seeing them because this was pertinent to my story, but I finally marked them as spam and got rid of them, and I think sent it to junk and deleted it or unsubscribed, whatever I did. I got rid of the sender, but I was just surprised how long this process went on for before I decided I'd had enough of getting these emails from someone I've never been interested in except once 3 years ago. That tells me, I'm sure you would come to the same conclusion. They've never looked at their list. They don't clean their list. They have no strategy around their email either, and their deliverability score is terrible because, of course, since late 2024, the emails have all landed in my spam and junk folder. So early on, they were in my inbox, but in the last year and a half since these changes came in with deliverability scores, they have landed in my spam and promotions folder naturally, which makes perfect sense. That's just a little story, and now I've gotten rid of them and unsubscribed. I won't be getting any more from them, but it's such a good little anecdote to share with this. So I should have kept them around a bit longer. 3 years I felt was long enough though. Let me check my little notes here. I've got something written in red that must be important. Yes, it is important. When I talk about, so point number 6 about checking where your bottom metrics are coming from. Are they actually coming from your flows or your campaigns? So don't, like I said, reinvent the wheel when you're not sure where your spam maybe complaint rate coming from or your unsubscribe rate is coming from. Go and check. I fixed this in this client's account, and their unsubscribe rate halved, which then follows on from that. It improves their deliverability. So we were able to halve their unsubscribe rate by finding the flow, the offending flow that was not offending in that way, but the misbehaving flow inside their account. By fixing that and making some changes to that flow, then we halved their unsubscribe rate. Number 7 is to run ads to collect fresh leads. And I talked about this at the very start. I talk about this a lot because I think it's vital. I really do. And it's a foundational part of how I have grown my e-commerce store is the combination of how ads and email work together. So you should absolutely be running ads to collect fresh leads and to be growing your email list. And the little stat I want to share with you about this is in the last 7 days, I onboarded a new client, which I also sort of alluded to earlier. And they shared with me in an email a couple of days ago that the ads inside Meta, I've only been managing their ads for 7 days, so it's been a short period of time, but their pop-up submit rate has gone up 62% in the last 7 days, and their revenue off the back then of that pop-up has increased massively because more people are now taking advantage of the pop-up offer and converting off of the flow they already had in Klaviyo. So this client already is all over their Klaviyo account. They've got a Klaviyo strategy, they have flows, they've got it well in hand, which is really great. I was so pleased because that means when we start running ads, their Klaviyo account is going to perform even better, and they're going to see more revenue come through from email because we're plugging the leaky bucket. We are sending good quality traffic from Meta to their website, and they are then seeing a pop-up, signing up and going into their welcome series and their flow. And now more of them are converting off that flow than a week ago before we started running ads. So yeah, they said that their pop-up has improved in the number of people who have submitted and signed up to become part of their email list has gone up 62% in 7 days. I was really stoked to hear that because I know the flow-on effect of the revenue for that is all good news. It means their Klaviyo account is working as it should and is working really hard for them. Number 8 is check the growth of your engaged segment and see if it's going up or down. When you click on a segment, you can see how it has changed over time. You want to see, I can't remember what the exact name of the sort of the metric is, but you can see how it has grown or shrunk over a period of time. You want to keep an eye on this because this will tell you potentially where things might be going wrong in other ways that you need to fix. Your engaged segment should be growing steadily. As well, if you're running ads, it should be growing steadily. You should be growing steadily anyway, but you will notice it growing when you're running ads. Then you need to check and make sure that it is continuing to grow and it hasn't stayed stagnant for a long period of time, or it hasn't started to shrink. If it starts to shrink, that's bad news. It means your Klaviyo account is not just going to start to underperform. It means your revenue is going to be less. Like it's going to make the revenue from Klaviyo is going to make up less of your total revenue if your engaged segment starts to shrink and you don't put some measures in place to rectify that. It sort of speaks a bit to your deliverability, but this point I really wanted to share because you might want some ways of troubleshooting it. Your engaged segment growing or dropping is really common. Like it fluctuates from month to month. So don't be too concerned if it's dropped from last month. But if you see it dropping over several months, over a consistent period of time, then you need to do some troubleshooting as to why. So I have 4 little quick points here of things that might be why your engaged segment is starting to shrink if you've noticed that happening. Is the pop-up. So less people signing up to your email list when they land on your website. Is the pop-up not engaging anymore? Does the offer need to be changed? Do you need to change the settings on how long until they see the pop-up? All those sorts of things. So that's the first thing I would check. The second one is the frequency of emails you send versus the definition. So the frequency of the emails you send, have you stopped sending every week? And then does your definition of engaged users that you're sending to match? Does that make sense? So if, let's say, let me try and think this through. If your engaged segment in Klaviyo includes people who have shown interest in all the different ways they can, clicked on an email, visited your website, all those sorts of things. If your engaged segment includes users who have engaged with your brand in the last 30 days, so just 30 days, but you haven't been sending weekly emails and you only send an email every 5 weeks to that engaged segment, do you kind of see where I'm going here? If you're going to send an email every 5 weeks to a group of people who are only going to get it if they've engaged in the last 30 days, but you're sending an email every 30-ish, 7 days or 30, whatever days, then that could be why your engaged segment has shrunk as well. So the definition of your engaged segment and the time parameters inside that really do need to match as well the frequency of when you're sending emails. That's maybe, I don't know if it's not complicated, but it might seem it's less likely to be the problem. That's probably less likely to be the issue if your engaged segment is shrinking. But if you have made changes recently to your engaged segment or to the frequency on which you send emails, that might be the issue, and it's probably worth checking on that match to see if it still matches up or if it doesn't match up. Running ads is my point 3. As your engaged segment dropped because you either are running ads or you've stopped running ads. That's easy. You should be running ads. That will help your engaged segment grow 100%. And also number 4 is, has your engaged segment dropped? Then you want to check the open and click rates on the last few campaigns you've sent. And that just speaks to the quality of the emails you're sending. Just go look at your open rates and your click rates. Maybe look at the last 30 days or the last 90 days based on the previous 90 days, or maybe exclude Christmas though. Let's just not don't put Black Friday dates in there or anything. That'll just throw everything out of whack. But go and look at your open rates and your click rates on your last few campaigns and just see if they are dropping as well, because that obviously means that less people who have clicked and engaged on those last few emails will now also not be getting your next email to an engaged segment. Segments are powerful parts of Klaviyo. And I think we need to remember as sellers, as people who are selling products through email and you are trying to find customers and nurture them and convert them via email, please remember, I'm telling myself as much as I'm suggesting it, encouraging you, is that we can probably send far more emails than we think we should if you're using segments and if you're using them correctly. Because if I send an email on day 1, then a user receives it on day 1. They open it and they click it, then they might not hear from me till the following week. For instance, if you're going to send one a week. If I send an email on day 1 and this user doesn't engage or click or open, or they just flat out delete it, they don't even see it, then if I send a follow-up, they'll get the follow-up on day 3 maybe, or day 4, whenever you decide to send a follow-up email, 72 hours later or something like that, they'll get the next email. And then maybe then if they engage with that email, they'll then get the email the following week. But if they don't engage with that email either, then they may receive the email the following week, depending on what they've been doing the previous weeks. It's such a complex, powerful tool, and I just think we sometimes we can get caught up with feeling like we are just being too salesy or pestering or sending too many emails, but we're probably not. When you think about segments and how easily someone can drop in and out of different segments in your account and different times you send. What if you send an email on a Friday one week, the following week you send it on a Sunday? Like, depending on your segments will determine if a user even gets the email. We probably could do with sending more emails, is what I'm trying to say, is go and check your deliverability score. If it's in a poor range or a fair range, it needs some work. And I would probably not start sending emails en masse, obviously, but I would go through some of these steps, take a few of these things and make some changes in your account to get ahead of this year so that Klaviyo performs for you better in 2026 than it will have in 2025. And if you haven't checked your deliverability score in a long time or ever, then I guarantee whatever work you do to get ahead of this year, you will see your account perform better than last year, because if you weren't really paying attention to a lot of these things last year, there's a lot of room to improve. There's a lot of money on the table for you to get from your users and your profiles inside Klaviyo. Go and have a look and see. You won't regret it. I can promise you that. And you won't regret setting yourself up for 2026 by doing some of these things, because you'll see better performance if you didn't do a lot of this work in 2025. Out for me on this episode, which might always be one of the longest ones I've recorded in a long time. I don't usually go for this long, like 20 minutes normally if you're listening to me in an episode. So I'm going to head off now and record the next episode. I'll see you next time. As always, keep learning.